Good evening. Welcome to Dare Act Conversation Series powered by The Grey Matter. Today we have Ayush Elavadi joining us live. He's a former lawyer turned media professional. He's worked with some of the leading media houses as a multimedia journalist, anchor, and TV presenter. Allow me now to invite Ayush. Ayush, I've sent you a request. You just have to accept it.
Hey,
Hello, welcome to Dare Act.
thank you, Chef, for having me. Can you see me clearly? Because I'm getting only half the frame here, yeah? Hello?
Yeah, it's kind of screen. Maybe if you just
That's
maintain a little
better?
distance. Yeah,
There you
much better.
go. All right.
Thank you so much. How are you doing,
No,
Ayush?
see, I'm a TV guy. I better do this right. If I can't do this right, then it's a waste.
Come on.
How's it going? How's it
Okay,
going? Okay, it's not too noisy for you because there's construction work happening in the area.
it's perfect. It's perfect. And I want to quickly start because we have a lot of questions to ask you today. So if
Sure,
you're
sure.
ready, yeah, so I'll
Yes,
shoot.
go for it.
Perfect. So you've had a fairly close association with the media industry since you were just 9 years old. Share with us some of your fond memories.
Wow. Okay, so we should learn how to ask the questions from Shreya. Good one. Basically, Shreya, yeah, you're right. Since I was a child artist, I've been associated with the media and entertainment industry, doing all sorts of things like voiceovers and travel shows and stuff like that. But I think that was when I keep saying the media bug bit me, and I didn't know it until we got into the workforce and actually started working much after law school. That this is what I want to do. Or maybe it was just the experience that I had at law school that sort of taught me that, hey, you know what, I want to do something a little more creative, and maybe law is not the career for me, although it's a really interesting, challenging thing for a lot of people, and a lot of smart, dynamic youngsters from our batches especially are doing really great things in the field of law as well.
Yeah. So you have someone in from family who is in the media industry. Like, how did that association happen?
So this can become a conversation on a lot of things. I know all those fancy terms like nepotism and all come in, but no, I did. Of course I do. My father is in the media. He's been in the media for the last 40 years, but he's in a slightly different field of the media, especially because the media now is so divided with regional media and international media and OTT and stuff like that. He's one of the OG radio broadcasters. Very
Wow.
good. Yeah, very good with his Hindi, Urdu, and regional languages. And of course, yes, the exposure that I got from him was going with him as a child, to studios, doing voiceovers and shows like that. But then that stopped, and that when that stopped, I got into this geek mode in school. I went to Campion in Bombay, and I became this computers geek. And then that also when I did science in the 11th and 12th at Jai Hind, I continued to be that geek. But I just sort of drifted away saying that can I see myself, and I always ask myself this question, can I see myself 10 years down the line wearing a hoodie and coding? That was the stereotype back then, unfortunately. Now it's the coolest thing to be in tech. But maybe 10, 20 years ago, it was, hey, can you picture yourself doing that? No, it's a great hobby, but maybe not, just maybe not what I see myself doing. Now, in hindsight, I say, hey, I want to put my hoodie on and get into the tech world.
Okay, so from the hoodie guy to, visiting your dad to various show sets and studios, what led you to choose law and then GLC?
Yeah, I'm going to flip this if we have time to you also at some point because you and I both went to government law college. Fascinating place. Yeah? I mean, if I have to sell it in two lines to everyone, Asia's oldest law school, established 1855, legal luminaries galore, best alumni association, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. But for me, I'll tell you what. When I was drifting away, it was kind of silly, and I think the Indian traditional, mass mindset is, "Arey yaar, let's go to do either engineering, medicine," and over the last 10, 20 years, it became law because we've seen this massive sort of spike in numbers when it comes to law school and stuff like that. I ended up going the 11th or 12th standard next to my physics, and this I've never mentioned to anyone, physics and chemistry and math tuitions in Dadar. There was this tutorial called Law School Tutorials. And a bunch of my friends were going, and I said, hey, you know what? I'll just go there and see what's it all about. How tough can it be? You've cracked like the most complex scientific practicals and exams. So I went down and they said, yeah, my friends are studying for their common entrance test for the engineering exams. And I said, that's kind of easy for me to do. So what do I do, which is really challenging? And I signed up with a bunch of friends for law school tutorials. I went down there. It was fun. It was so much fun. It was much more fun than my law school experience by itself. And when I ended up, sitting down for that exam, I ranked pretty decently. I mean, I didn't really study much for it, but I think I was ranked 600th or something like that in all of India, which was not bad, which meant I could get into a top 5, top 7 law school. But what I didn't want to really neglect was my 12th standard exams. I still wanted to give one good shot at science, at least get a good grade, because your backup had to be that you end up at a Jai Hind or a Xavier's or a DU and get a good degree out of it, a 3-year course. So when I essentially got my 12th standard results, my law results were okay. My law exam CLAT results were ranked 600, not bad. The first year that we gave CLAT in that form. And then all of a sudden, my HSC exam, I topped my class. And I topped computers in the city. I got almost 100% in computers. So I said, what am I doing? Should I just do computers? And then I went into Jai Hind, Xavier's, and GLC. This hole in the wall that I didn't know existed for the last 20 years, 18 years of my life. And I just said, give up my application. There are a lot of people said, boss, you should consider law. You have the gift of gab. You argue, you love doing these things. But frankly speaking, the system isn't built for that, because everyone starts trying to discern and decipher what your aptitude is. And we give these very expensive aptitude tests. But honestly, if you give that aptitude test with my skill sets, you could be a great salesman. You could be a great marketer. You could be a great lawyer. You could be a great television presenter. You could be a content creator. You could be all these things. So I said, look, it's a safe thing to do when you come with that mindset and you want to hustle and, you don't have a family business really backing you up. So you have to do your own thing. So you say, hey, you know what? I'll consider GLC. Then I met a few seniors in our college, people who graduated a while ago. And they said, look, if you want to give law a chance, this is the best place ever, because you get to work. You don't have to attend as much as other colleges. You can attend in the morning and then continue working and make something of your life. And you can explore. And it's really interesting if you can do the 5-year course, because it's not easy to get into the 5-year course, which I realized a little later, because some of the brightest friends and my peers couldn't get into the 5-year course. And I said, hey, you know what? I got in, and I got into Xavier's, and I got into Jai Hind also, which was my dream to continue over there, because I thought life was very simple. But yeah, in a nutshell, that's how I got to law. And then I will tell you in your subsequent questions, I'm guessing, what my experience was like.
Yeah, in fact, that's my next question. How would you describe your 5 years at GLC?
Wow. Okay, so very quickly, I know I get these long-winded answers, but you got to tell me, how would you describe your 5-year experience at GLC? Because I want to understand this for myself.
No, I am interviewing you today. You can't be on the other side of the table. You're not allowed.
Fair enough. That's my natural instinct. But no, Shreya, honestly, look, those 5 years were a roller coaster. I know it sounds very funny. They were a roller coaster because they taught me so much. I'll tell you what, unfortunately, we are a group of millennials that have grown up in our generation where the experience and the people around you, the company matters. The kind of people around you. Now, and this I wanted to ask you or someone and really solve this existential angst that existed in my head for so long, because for me, I grew up in South Bombay. And then law school was down the road. My nursery was down the road. My school was in Colaba and my law school was there. So I lived in this and Jai Hind was out there. So I lived in this very lovely little cocoon. But my family doesn't come from Bombay. They're from the north, and they're from, originally they're from, Pakistan and whatnot. So I thought, coming in over here, I don't have a base except for my parents over here. It's not like I have 10 generations over here, right? And at the end of the day, you realize that, okay, law school is 5 years of your life that you're giving in. You're getting you're getting a professional degree, 2 degrees, BLS, LLB, great on your CV. And maybe if there's a 1% chance that you and law get along, then you'll pursue law. But those 5 years, I also had this secret hope that you'd have a good college life. And I think that's something that I did wrong. And I hope people now, don't make the same mistake as me. And I feel a lot of people at GLC do this. is that they come in thinking it's going to be the ideal college experience, which it is not, let's be honest. But it's what you make of those 5 years. Because if you hustle every day, and I know people who became top models, some of them have come on your series, people who got into Bollywood, people who got into Saas Bahu serials, people who became cybersecurity experts. There are people who've done fantastic things after GLC. The top politicians in this country since yesteryear have been GLC lawyers. So yes, I feel like it does prepare you. But for me, the 5 years were bittersweet. I used to keep oscillating between media, law, management, law. I said, let's try everything under the sun and then come to a sort of a conclusion saying, okay, boss, this is not for me and I need to do something else. That's how I saw it. That's how I would recommend anyone else does it. Now it's tougher to get in GLC. I'm guessing there's an entrance exam. Yeah, so it's become a little tougher, but some great experiences, some great networking, and you found out how competitive law school can be. Now you might just be, we come from Bombay, so all of us out here think you're just going to a college down the road, but there are some of the brightest, most competitive minds from around the country that come to that college, which doesn't necessarily happen in every college in Bombay. So you are, and I hate to say this, all the 3-year law course people watching, hats off to you all. You all have done some great things as well. But the 5-year course is another creature altogether. It sounds silly, but it is. Because we come in from high school, from the 11th and 12th, with this very naive and sort of idealistic view of the world, where we're very competitive, sometimes unhealthy. Politics about getting into top committees and then interviews and then getting the best internships and then moot courts. We just get 3 more years or 2 more years of it than all of you guys in the 3-year course, and it's damn competitive. So in the process, in the midst of it, you make some of the best friends that you've ever made. In the process of it, you meet some of the coolest people doing things outside of law school. I'm not sure how much that happens in the 3-year course. I'm sure it does, but we get 2 more years of it. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that experience where I could meet more people. And frankly, I did this, and there must be people watching as well. A lot of my Bombay friends, and there's this huge Bombay contingent that comes to GLC, I sort of stopped chilling with them at all, I did it because I realized that the experience is that you have to burst your bubble and get out. Eventually in life, you have to, right? Some people do it early. Some people go to boarding school. Some people live a very protected life for a long time and go to the top universities around the world, still living a slightly protected life. The real hustlers are out there, and they're there at GLC. That's the best part. So if you go out there and meet them, you'll understand what life's all about, and you can learn from their experiences, and that really helped me. So I'm grateful for that, at least.
Beautifully explained. Thank you so much for being so candid on that question.
Anytime.
Moving on, you worked with some of the leading media houses from CNBC, Network 18 to Bloomberg Quint, Star TV, hosting, anchoring shows that were industry agnostic. And I'm sure it came with a bunch of challenges along with the profession being equally demanding. So having said that, tell me, what were the most amazing moments where you thoroughly enjoyed your work, and what were those things that made you kind of feel fulfilled with what you were doing
in the media?
Okay. Working with those media houses.
So working in the media and entertainment industry, and so some of these places, CNBC and Bloomberg, I used to work with as an employee, and then now I work with them as a freelancer and a contributor. With Star, yes, it was amazing because football is my passion. So and I was working on the Indian Super League, which is a fantastic product, and I really believe that all of us watch European football over here and have these lovely, all over my room I have Liverpool scarves and placards, but no, I mean, Indian football is growing, and if you're slightly patriotic and want to support teams around the world, then you should once in a while tune in to Indian football as well, and you'll be surprised as to all the cool things happening. I had some great experiences, Shreya, in terms of, again, so let's zoom in on that. GLC thought that the process that we answered in the previous one, and then zoom out of it in a macro way. You realize something about yourself, and anyone tuned in, you have to ask yourself these questions. What are the things that you learn about from an experience? This lockdown taught all of us a lot of things. Can you adapt? Can you be an introvert caged in this room? I can't. That's why I took meetings up in other cities. That's why I isolated in other countries. I've done all that stuff already in this lockdown. Because I had the freedom to, and I feel I'm lucky that I could. But you learned a lot about yourself even with these media houses, because it's not that easy getting into them. And once you're there, it looks lovely from the outside to all of you all. And especially when you come from law, because law can look a little, morose and dull in comparison to the media lifestyle. Although I'm guessing law does pay a lot more than your initial days in the media lifestyle. But that said, of course, the media comes with recognition and instant gratification, something that I missed when I was in and around the legal world, right? For all the work that I did with the top lawyers, and I learned so much with them, humility, research, those things help you, obviously, we'll get to that. But I feel like in the media world, you often trample upon a lot of egos. And it is something where people are very, very, very egoistic, and you got to learn how to navigate your way through it and still manage to come on camera and be yourself. Because if you're not yourself, people are not going to tune into you, right? So if you've seen me, you've known me before in college, I've been pretty much the same. My natural evolution has been, I love it. I might be very awkward if you sit with me somewhere in a cafe and have this chat, but if you're having this chat on camera, I feel like I'm at home, right? You put a microphone on a podcast, I'm at home. So some of us are like that. That's just, you should watch that new movie by Pixar, Soul. And if you watch it, you'll realize what your purpose is, why are you living, and it gets you into that mode. The media, you need to be really smart and tactful. You need to know, two, that you're replaceable. You need to know, three, that if you have that ego about yourself, you got to come to terms with and adjust it in a way that you have self-respect, but you also don't mess with the wrong people. It's that sort of a place, and hats off to the people who make it over here in the media and entertainment space, because it's not easy. If you do, and a lot of us go on Instagram and troll people, not cool, man, because that means you're a person who doesn't have empathy. Because if you empathize with what that person's hustle's been, whatever they've done, if you're passing judgment without having lived their life, especially in the media and entertainment space, then clearly you don't know what you're doing, because there's a struggle, there's a hustle, which is there in every particular profession that you choose, but this one especially. It's a crazy place to be, but it's very rewarding. It's very rewarding when it has to be.
So I can hear you're clearly speaking out of experience, which is why I'm just intrigued to ask, how did you navigate your way?
Interesting. I don't know. I think it's an ongoing process, right? I think I'm still navigating my way through it. But along the way, when I come to terms with some things, and then the industry comes to terms with some things, and then people in higher positions come to terms with some things, and then you as an audience like some things, somewhere there you see my landmarks and my milestones, and you look back and you're like, hey, Ayush did a great job. Ayush was great on that show. Oh, we liked him on Netflix. That's great. But for me, I'm the sort of person who's like, hey, I've gotten this, but the minute that the camera goes off and lights go off, I'm going to get something to eat, thank everyone, be really humble about it, and then come back and I start panicking. Saying, what's my next thing? Because even if it's a job, the reason I can't be in a job so easily is because I'm wondering, saying, I made it here, great. The world might see you as over here, but I already am thinking about how to get there. So it stresses you out sometimes, but I feel like that's just me. I'm a permanent worrier, and it's always fun to see, to keep challenging yourself. And that's perhaps why, if you see my CV, much before law and after law, I've sort of meandered my way through it. So it's an ongoing process, but you learn a lot about yourself on the way.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure there are a few media people here on the chat as well appreciating your answers.
Awesome.
Okay, so like you said, there's a lot that goes behind the screen. We as audience, we're used to seeing neat, well done, high quality content on our screens.
Yes.
And having said that, there's a universe working in tandem behind the screen to make that content come live, right? Share with us a few behind the screen, facts, and maybe a few anecdotes when you were put in awkward spots.
So, there's so many, right? Because every day is a challenge, but let's go. So at the end of it, I like to believe I'm a wannabe technologist. So we believe in this theory called last in, first out. So it's first in, last out, last in, first out. So last in is yesterday. I was at a shoot. We were shooting for a tech company, a really interesting reveal for the world, for a new smartphone. And I was at a lovely Airbnb. And it was with my previous employers, Bloomberg Quint, right? I'm sharing that with you. It's between you and me, Shreya, and everyone else watching. But it'll be revealed in the coming days. And what I'm trying to say is, I've worked with crews who so all fellow employees who you're working with. But here, I had these two really interesting, and I meet new people all the time, but I had these two really interesting freelancers around our age who I'd never heard of or never met until yesterday. And believe you me, and we think we're young and cool and everyone thinks, I have worked with some of the senior most cameramen and directors from Hollywood and Bollywood. And frankly, I think these were the most talented kids, or adults that I have worked with, because they they made things look so much better than they were, and that's your job. When you look at a frame, you look at lighting. I'm OCD, so I like to control everything. But when you have someone already doing that and being passionate about it, then you're really happy about having a crew that you can work with, that keeps you going. Now, this was obviously a one-person shoot. We're trying to follow COVID social distancing and stuff like that. But there have been many times at CNBC and Bloomberg when you've been interviewing heads of state, literally of European countries, big ministers. Mr. Subramaniam Swamy always makes you, think twice about anything that you're going to ask him, because you can come off as a big fool at the end of it. And he's going to say something that will be headlines tomorrow. So you've got to be sure you've gone in with your research. Mr. Soli Sorabji, Mr. Fali Nariman, these are people I had the good fortune of interviewing. And then the next generation as well. And then the next generation. So, I have to stop judging. I can't keep thinking, oh, look at those senior people who've been there for like the last 50 years. Or look at the people our age. There's a Gen Z that's coming up who are now, frankly, founders of multi-million dollar startups. So they are also my interviewees on the same day as a day that I'm interviewing the Attorney General of India. So you have to make sure that you have to work on several wavelengths. What I said earlier, empathize with the other person, because it's very important, and you have to have that humility. You can't say I am so senior or I do this better than you, and you have to basically shed all your idiosyncrasies and all your prejudices and go in over there and try to connect with a person. And hopefully when you connect, then other people should also around you feel like, hey, this Ayush guy is relatable. Through him, I could understand who the guest was. That's my job, which is kind of easy when you spell it out, but not everyone likes to do it. But I enjoy it. So definitely more than law.
Sweet. So nicely put, Ayush. It's a treat to listen to you. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. You briefly did mention about this, but I'm going to still ask you nonetheless. How has your law experience helped you in your current profession?
Oh. So if you ask my mom and dad and my brother, they'll say, look, we told you not to quit law school. By the way, I thought of quitting law school every year that the Kaka gave me my my report card or transcript or mark sheet. I said, let's leave it. And I waited, because at GLC, now coming to your question, is 3 years of GLC is a bachelor in arts or a bachelor in legal studies. And then 2 years later, you get an LLB. I was certain that I was only counting away my days till the 3 years were over. And then I would bounce. There were people who bounced in the first 2 years, went to America. Some of my close friends ended up saying, we can't do this. Some of them used that as a pre-law to go and do something in America later. Some of them became doctors. I had a friend of mine at GLC she's a batchmate of mine. I don't know how she did it, and I don't know if I should reveal it, but I'm not taking names. She went through 5 years of GLC, and I think in and around the same time finished medical school and GLC at the same time. So she's a lawyer and a doctor. I don't know how she did it, but she did it. See, that is a hustler. I will actually. There are a bunch of people way more interesting than me, real hustlers. I mean, I know people who've done CA with law as well, right? Those are tough things to do. Yeah, law is a professional degree. If you want to do it justice, then you want to do it right. Your question about the skills that you pick up at law school, more than law, I think, yeah, the law is great, because people strangely, Shreya, when you go out in the media world, and especially if you're in the news media world, not in the fun, glamorous part that I work in now, you'll be surprised. When you meet big people, even lawyers, and lawyers are really, the top lawyers are top for one reason, because you think about why they are so humble, and I'll name them. Go meet Abhishek Manu Singhvi, or a Siddharth Luthra, or a Fali Nariman, or even a Subramaniam Swamy, who's not really a lawyer, but is always in and around the legal processes, right? You meet these guys, and the minute they ask you, they interview you before you interview them. And then you realize that they already judged everything about you. They know you in a box already. And they're going to be humble enough knowing that you're a kid, yeah. I mean, they don't need to show you respect, but they will. And that's what's beautiful about these guys. That's why they're at the top. And they will show you that humility, and they'll say, hey, at the end of it, saying, come and meet me later, you know. Why are you doing all this media and all? Just join me in my chambers. I need someone like you. I've got job offers, law job offers well into my media career, which we could have never gotten straight from GLC, which is strange because people see that sort of promise and they see potential in you that even you don't see. So yes, and this in a simple one-line answer, the skills you pick up: due diligence, research, thinking on your feet, gift of gab. You don't ever pause. In the media, if I pause, on radio, I've done radio, it's a crime to pause. If I'm talking to you, be like, hey Shreya, what's up? You know, I was thinking, it sounds okay on video when I do that, because we're doing a video. If I do that on audio, that 5 seconds is equal to 10 hours. The audience is gone, right? So that's the whole point. You learn this from law. In law, we know when we have to get, as counsels, when we have to approach the judge, we can't keep quiet. You know, unless we're told to keep quiet, we got to present our case and do it articulately. So law did all of that. Law also actually strangely improves your language. If you have a passion and interest for the arts and language by itself, law does, especially the 5-year course at GLC. If you read, I keep reading, and you can't see them right now, but I read some of these things. I read law books sometimes, you know, I because such brilliant stories. Read Lord Denning. And, you know, we studied it in pre-law. Man, I picked up all his books. MC Chagla, Roses in December. I read these books later and realized they're great reads either way for you to learn and better yourself at what you do. You can't imagine the things. And also one more thing, GLC, not law, teaches you the right way to meander through things and understand jugaad and work with limited resources to do bigger things. So yes, that's all law. Hats off, credit to law.
Fantastic. So you used to work full time and then you became independent last year, was it? Or was it last year?
2018. FIFA World Cup Russia. That's how I remember it.
Yeah, that's a 2018. And you've been associating with some really high-end top tech brands as content strategist.
Yeah.
How does that work? What is a content strategist?
Good question. It's actually a very fancy term that the media industry's come up with now because everything's gone digital and everyone's thinking that way. It's basically what I have learned over the last 7 or 10 years in the media, presented to you in one form, but not necessarily editorial content. It's not that I'm out there hunting only news stories or really interesting interviews and stuff like that. I could be working with the gray matter on a really interesting strategy, but I work with your marketing or strategy team to come up with a product or a service, which from inception to ideation to execution, I would come on board for that campaign. So you say, you should work with me for 6 months on it. I will. So for instance, if I'm working with an Amazon or a Walmart or a OnePlus or an Oppo or LG, Samsung, Mercedes, you work with them on a project for some period of time with deliverables where you are the guy driving content for them. So you're working in tandem with the strategy and the marketing team to put across a message effectively, because those are the skills you've picked up, right? So how do you put that across to people? You can be a marketing guy, but a marketing guy doesn't always understand content. You can be a content guy, but a content guy doesn't always understand marketing. And if in the process of all of this, if you're passionate about technology like I am, or you understand a little bit of content because I've worked out there for the last 7 to 10 years, or you understand policy as well. You know, sometimes it's strange. It's a great business idea for you guys. Law and policy, very few people understand it. Very few people understand how to do outreach for it. So what you guys are doing is fantastic because it's so tough. It's so niche, right? When something is so niche, how do you communicate it? That's what we did on TV because we were paid to do it. Now, if a client comes to me, I'll go on board as a content strategist and hopefully charge them a decent amount for it.
Sweet, fancy, and it sounds very high tech.
Yeah, this sounds. It's the same grunt work, same skills as an everyday job. It's only you decide when and how you're going to get whipped by a client. That's about it.
Oh my God, that is so relatable, and I'm sure Tanisha and Neha must be laughing listening to that line.
It's true.
You know,
it's true.
Extremely relatable. Okay, so you in 2020 pandemic hit, and with the profession that you're in, there's a lot of running around that often happens, but
That's
everything came to a standstill. What I understand is you're writing a book called Vaccine Kings,
that's
which is
right.
apparently already gained a lot of global attention. So how is that panning for you, and tell us a little bit about it.
Look, yeah, in the last decade or so, I did television, I did radio, I did some form of print and digital, right? That's what I was doing because we were born in the lap of digital. But one challenge, and then I always wanted to do OTT, so I ended up working with Netflix and Amazon a little bit. And I love writing. I love being the one fronting it as well. But then writing a book is something I thought I'll do much later in life. When this opportunity presented itself to me, a top publisher approached me for it. I thought it's an interesting thing to do. It's a huge, huge challenge. It's not easy when you have deadlines and you have to manage everything. But I'm working on it every day. I at least sit out here, or if I'm, I sometimes I'm in Pune and I have a similar base I've set up over there, and I pretty much work on it throughout the day when I can reach out to people in the day and do my interviews. And then in the evening, I do all my podcasts and blogs and videos and stuff. And sometimes in between, you have to accommodate some projects here and meetings in Bombay. So I come back to Bombay. It's interesting. It's important because we are covering the Serum Institute and the Poonawallas, and we're hoping no one has ever done that in history. So it's a challenge, but the good part about it is that you learn so much about yourself and about people, and you're back to good journalism in a way, which is different from some of the things we've been doing off late. But yeah, and you're also writing. We've been writing a lot of scripts, but this one's a little different, right? Because you're writing a book. But it's a challenge, and you know me. I relish the prospect of a challenge, and that's why I took up this project. Let's see, fingers crossed.
Very interesting, and wish you all the best
Thank
for
you.
the project. Um, how was your experience working on a Netflix original, Bad Boy
Mm,
Billionaire? We've all heard about it. It's been
yeah,
a huge hit. Take us take us through the sets. What really happened? How was your experience?
absolutely. Did you watch it? Did you watch the show? Okay, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. So, no, it was, I'll be honest with you, I'll tell you two, three things about it, okay? Experience world class. I go into shoots telling people, please, please come back with that level of quality. I was with a couple of weeks ago, I was with a crew that had worked with Netflix, and they said, do you know Netflix standards, Ayush? There's like, sanitizer and spray on every table. There's food, there's gourmet food, and you get Blue Tokai coffee. And I said, yeah, yeah, it's great. Yeah, I mean, we're not used. You have a vanity van and you have a room. I said, wow, yeah, like this. I hope this was standardized across the industry. We'd have a very comfortable life because we are used to even traveling by train. When we have to, and taking an auto rickshaw after that, because that's just normal, having a vada pav, because that's all you get, not only the money for, but the time for. So that's what I thought. Shoot wise, amazing. I met our director of photography, our DOP. Basically, for people, the uninitiated, the DOP or the cinematographer look at everything around that set. So the producer is saying, okay, I want this. The director is saying, you should be like this. We're working on the script. But the guy, if you see the frame and you see, why does something look and feel special on a Netflix or an Amazon? Because they have some of Hollywood and Bollywoods or other countries in Israel as well, some very talented people working on those sets and coming up with the best gadgetry, working on the best lighting, figuring out depth of frame, figuring out how Ayush will talk like this. Does he look a little, does he look a little off? Is he not symmetric? Where should we, should someone decides where should his mic be placed? Should they use a shotgun mic? Should they use a lapel mic? These are things we've done in, you keep thinking, everyone in the media thinks that they're Shah Rukh Khan, right? That everything, man. But when you meet someone, that's the best part of the media, because you meet someone who's way more experienced than you, and I believe way more talented than you, but somehow you get along, and that's when magic is created. Because when you find, I'll give you an example, you find a great camera person, like we did on Netflix or even on Star Sports. You find hopefully a great DOP and a director who gets along and gets your vibe, and something as simple as a spot boy. You would ask me earlier saying, what about the people behind the scenes? Maybe I rambled on. Even someone like a spot boy on that set who helps you out. When I'm running around doing a show and he says, sir, your ID card. Sir, you left your coffee there. Sir, you left your phone there. It takes away all those stresses and distractions from your head, and you can perform better. Now, Netflix was a recorded thing. When we're doing live shows like this, you got to really be focused, right? And think about it. I'm sorry I'm digressing from Netflix, but when you're in a stadium before COVID with 40, 50,000 fans, you have a earpiece on, and I'm talking and I'm interviewing a guy who's speaking in Spanish, English, tutti putti English, and you're like, and you have some two, three people shouting in your ear saying, "You have 40 seconds rolling. 3, 2, 1, cue Ayush." And this ear is trying to hear you because I'm here with a mic, but I'm also hearing 40,000 fans either booing this guy or like cheering him or just singing crap, and it's live. You don't have any time to think. So that teaches you so much, and we've done days of live shows at Bloomberg. So Netflix was actually a chilled affair. They let you be yourself. I went in with a full suit, thinking I have a nice three-piece suit. I should look good on international TV. No, he said, you know what? You're wearing this lovely blue shirt. Just keep that on. Not any makeup or anything. There was no one there saying just look like yourself. Otherwise, on TV, we wear a lot of makeup. No one doing your hair. You just quickly, I ran to the bathroom and tried doing my hair, saying at least I should look presentable. Content-wise, great. Working with that production team was fascinating. And for that 1 or 2 days of shoot and a week of preparation, I should tell you this, I'm impressed with Netflix and a little upset with my career choices because at the end of the day, all those hours of tireless content on CNBC, BBC, Bloomberg, radio, podcast, YouTube, and all of a sudden you just come on one Netflix show and your world explodes. People are reaching out to you from Sweden, Switzerland. You're like, hey, but you want to see my show reel? You know what? I did this on Bloomberg. We don't care. Yeah, you're great. We already saw you. Your audition's already done. We've seen you on Netflix. That's the power of Netflix, and that's the power of Netflix in a lockdown world. Where a Tiger King can become the #1 show in the world, or even a Bad Boy Villain has great shows. But if Netflix didn't have a homepage, and if Shreya didn't open her Netflix saying, "Hey, I'm tired today. I want to watch TV." You're like, what is this? I see Vijay Mallya, Sahara Shri, and like it says Bad Boy Billionaires India. Great, click on it. 10 minutes in the episode, you're like, hey, I know Ayush. Credit scene. My God, I know these people. Wow, now I know the story. And then you go back to bed and you're like, hey, I have been enriched by this experience, but I also know the people on it and it's a lot more relatable now. So that was the experience for me. And I thought it was fascinating because so many people reached out, and so many interesting gigs came out of it. And that's where we stand now. It's just 4 or 5 months, and we're also working actually on something else with them, which maybe in the coming months we'll be revealing perhaps.
Incredible. Okay, my last question to you is...
I was enjoying this. Don't say last year. We should go on for at least 1 more hour.
Right? 1 hour and Insta Live goes away.
Oh, really? Clearly I'm not an expert.
It's only for 60 minutes.
So you have like 5 minutes maybe more by your clock roughly.
Do you have any advice for law students?
Okay. Yes, I do. And maybe I'm not the right person to listen to because I am a very distracted individual. But if you're really coming into the law school world, because you're a law student, so I will give you 2 sets of advice. The first bit is, if you're stepping into a law school, don't put that pressure on yourself that this is the be-all and end-all of what I have to do, right? If you're fortunate enough to be at a GLC or a law school, which gives you a lot of time in the day to do other things, please do other things. Figure out what your passion is. I know it sounds cliched, but figure out what your purpose is. If you have compulsions and you have to take up law, then I'll tell you something very honestly. And I know, Lord, I'm so glad you're doing this because a lot of people from law have been writing to me after Bad Boy as well, saying, how did you come from law over here? Look, you will have to sacrifice maybe 20-30% of your salary in initial days. But if you're good at what you do, I promise you, there'll be a point when you'll be over here all throughout in terms of financial compensation. But I'll be honest with you, at some point, life is a leveler. If you're really good and you're hustling, you'll get here. And maybe your lawyer friends would be somewhere here or here, and they could have burnt out. Maybe you could have burnt out. Maybe you realized your purpose was not what you intended to do. So yes, if you're a law student, do everything. If there are compulsions on you, hustle so that you can get your law degree. It's great. I'm telling you, the law degree is fantastic. It's my best backup in life. Maybe I'll go back to the courts because I realized that it was perhaps recession-proof and COVID-proof. The media wasn't. Lawyers were working throughout. We were sitting at home figuring out what to do. So please continue the hustle. Do it as a side hustle. If you think that you can do it in terms of something in the evening. I used to call myself Batman in my head because I said, hey, you know what? In the day, I'm at law and law school, and by the night, I'm at a recording studio. So I did it, and I realized that this was my passion. But I got my law degree after crying every day, coming home saying, I can't do this. Why am I doing this? It helps because it you get immense respect for what you've done. People take you very seriously, although I don't know why, because even a BCom or a dropout can be smarter than you, but you do get a lot of respect out there. It's competitive, so it teaches you what the real world is like. You meet some brilliant minds, you make a great network. Why do you go do an MBA? You do an MBA because you want to meet those people. It's not for what you study. You're locked in a room with a doctor, lawyer, former army officer, a musician, and they put you together, and the ideas that come out of that brainstorming are what get you going. So for me, the media did that to me every day because I met those people every day at the top of their game. You know, you might be doing that via this series. That's how you learn. Strangely enough, law school has people who are focused in one direction, but I've noticed in the last few years that that's changed. A lot of these people going to law school are doing it, and then some of them are realizing 2-3 years into their career that they're doing something else. Some of them realize it during law school, some of them realize it maybe too late in life. It's never too late in life. Do what you think you really want to do. Yes, there will be some give and take, but that's life, man. So keep doing law if you're doing it. If you're planning to join law, don't do it thinking this is all that I can do. There's so much more. The sky is the limit. Digital has opened everything up. Even if you're a lawyer, start blogging, start doing stuff like that. Start vlogging, travel the world while you're at law school. Learn a little more, do internships, and you'll be fine because you'll come out a really sharp, cogent mind, ready to take on the millennial workforce.
Wow, so much to take from this conversation, Ayush. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you on Dare Act with us, and we wish you all the very best for all your projects and your book. And I hope I get to hear the good news very soon that hey Shreya, this is launched. You may go check out the book. And
You'll be the
yeah,
first to know.
keep
You'll
doing
be the
what you're
first to
doing.
know. Thank you for having me, and thank you for everyone who's been writing in as well. All these lovely comments that you've gotten. I love this series. I've been tuning in from the beginning. We should have done this earlier. It's my mistake that I was traveling all over the place and I wasn't sure about the time. But I'm so glad that I could do it now and we could finally catch up.
Absolutely. Thank you once again and have a fantastic weekend.
You too,
See
Shreya.
you.
Take care. Bye bye.